Welcome back to Making Money Matter. I am your host, Kerry Stevenson, and I've asked Stewart McCallion. He is the Managing Director of Burley Minerals. ASX code is BUR. Now, the last time I spoke with Stewart, it was back at the end of May. We spoke about their iron ore deposits up there in the Pilbara and what was happening. I asked Stewart to come back on because he's got a little bit of news going on, a little bit of change in the company. And I think potentially could be pretty interesting times for the company. So welcome back, Stewart. Great to see you.
Hi, Kerry. Great to be back.
Well, it's raining where I am. Last time it was raining with you, not with me. Today it's raining with me and not with you, but you still got the big...
Things are warming up here in Perth, and certainly things are warming up in the Pilbara as well.
Okay.
Much to our enjoyment.
Look, I know we spoke just at the end of May, but briefly, who are Burley? And then I want to go into what the news is today.
Okay, look, we're obviously a junior mining company. We're trading on the ASX BUR, as you mentioned. Currently, our market cap's about just under $10 million. Okay. We got about 150 million shares in the market.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you said, the last time we spoke, we were just getting things moving with our Broad Flat Well project, which sits outside of Karratha, probably just over 100 kilometers, really. We've got a heritage agreement in place with the Yinjibarni Nation. We moved forward quickly to get a heritage survey. We had our program of work, our drilling permit in place. We then drilled it in July. Assays came back, saw some mineralization. However, in the meantime, at the end of September, wham, the Cane Boar license to explore came through. And this is massive. Kerry, we've been working on this for 3 years. Cane Boar, similar type of channel iron deposit that we see up at Broad Flat Well, easy to get to, high line, low strip ratio type of thing, we believe. But we just couldn't. We were working on getting through this through the regulators, basically, and basically end of September, Cane Boar license comes on and it changes tack for us. We're on the ground now, sampling and mapping as we speak at Cane Boar. Now, in the reconnaissance period, in the meantime, at Cane, again, this is about maybe as the crow flies, less than 100 Ks from Onslow. A lot of activity in Onslow at the moment as well, by the way. I'll get to that in a sec. But we're on the ground now at Cane Boar. From our earlier reconnaissance work, that is, air photography, satellite imagery, topography, etc., and of course our geologists' understanding of the local geology, we recognize that there's more than 30 kilometers of sinuous type strike of channel iron deposit on the ground, what we believe. It suggests to us that there is more than, or roughly, 1,500 hectares of channel iron deposit targets. Okay, so just to put it into perspective, at Broad Flat Well, further to the north, we had under 70 hectares. Now we're looking at more than 30 kilometers of and Broad Flat Well again. That was about 70, just under 70 hectares over about 6 kilometers. Now, at Cane Boar, more than 30 kilometers and roughly 1,500 hectares of target areas. So this is potentially very big. The more target areas we have, obviously, the better chance for success. Mm-hmm. So we have our first pass drilling target areas, more than 200 hectares. So it's really getting on the ground now. Again, key part, get on the ground, start to survey, or rather to map this area, pick up some rock chip samples. That is happening as we speak. Geos are on the ground right now. Meanwhile, I'm working with the traditional owners in the group where we have heritage agreements in place as part of the last couple of years. And furthermore, we're working on developing, obviously upgrading some of the access tracks into the place as well. This is an old pastoral lease around here, so there's some existing tracks that can facilitate us getting into some of these target areas.
Right.
So look, it's really exciting, and this is the big something we've been obviously waiting for 3 years. We've said we applied for this exploration license.
I thought when you said we've
2021.
why did it take like three? It's an exploration license. It's not a mining license.
Uh, Look, it's a long story.
Okay, but you got it.
I don't want to bore your investors or your audience with it. The point is that the license has been granted, and
Okay.
now we are working on developing value for our shareholders. And this is the key. And allow me just to illuminate. Okay, channel iron deposits. Let's talk. These are just near this sort of the sort of western Pilbara area. There is a lot of activity around here. So of this area that we're in, you've got Robe Valley, Rio Tinto's Robe Valley, just to the north of us, which is a big channel iron deposit that's been operating for decades. I'm
Okay.
sure that your audience is aware that Mineral Resources, Chris Ellison's group, they started to export through Onslow just recently, earlier this year. Their deposit is very close to ours as well, and that's a multi-million ton deposit, Cane Boar. So they're advancing a haul road across to Onslow right now, and that haul from Cane Boar is probably in the neighborhood of 200 odd kilometers or something to that effect. Again, our exploration license rather, is within 100 kilometers of uh, of,
Okay.
of Onslow. And in fact, our initial target areas, our resource target areas, our exploration target areas, is like if I do a particular path, is about 10 kilometers from the existing Mount Stewart Road. And from there, it's about 110 kilometers to Onslow. So it's very, very close.
Hmm.
And the Northwest Coastal Highway, a sealed road, it's within 3 kilometers of our exploration license. So we're sitting right next to existing infrastructure and very close to the port, to the port of Onslow or Ashburton, as it's called. So again, from a transport economics point of view, and iron ore, which is all about transport economics,
Is
it's
it?
oh yeah, look, it's
Talk
it's
to us
all
about
about
that.
how quickly, how easy you can get your ore onto a boat, and hence the reason why, obviously, the big end of town, the BHPs, the Rio Tintos, the FMGs, effectively, they're very big logistics companies,
Yeah.
for moving iron ore. But we know this in obviously Western Australia about trucking ore long distances, and we perfected it, frankly. But we also know that that distance is key, to the success of your project. The longer you haul, the more it's going to cost you. That's
Yeah.
basically it. And
Right.
it's about being able to survive the ebbs and flows of the iron ore market. Is about your operating costs and keeping it low, which is about how far you are from the coast. The closer you are, the better.
So just I want to understand the value proposition going forward. So one of the things I wanted to ask you was, you just said took you 3 years, you've got the exploration license. I'm talking to you in October 2024. Talk to us about the news, like how long is this going to take to explore, to get into a resource where you can say the infrastructure's there, now we're going to start shipping, direct shipping ore. So I kind of want to have an idea, just big picture, because I know it's early days, but just an
Yeah.
idea.
Look, naturally, we're rock chip sampling, we're mapping the rock chip sampling. Now we should have those assays back. I'm expecting by November, it all going to plan. We're planning heritage surveys to get on the ground to drill. My I am pushing. It may be ambitious, but I'm pushing to get a rig on there before the end of the year.
Okay.
It does start to get hot in the Pilbara, of course, and you're dealing with cyclones and whatnot. So your risk, it gets a little bit greater. If you do get hit by rain or unexpected rain, you can get isolated pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So we are working against the clock there. However, we're pushing to get this work happening, this drilling happening, to get a new resource out, or get a resource model out as early as we can in 2025. But
Okay.
let me illuminate something else, which is really a catalyst for us at the beginning of this year to move back into the iron ore space, as we were working in Quebec a lot last year in lithium. At the beginning of this year, a very interesting deal came to the table. CZR, which is a small junior in the neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
has a channel iron deposit less
Yeah.
than 50 kilometers from Cane Boar, just 50 kilometers north. CZR, and I would appeal to your audience to check CZR's DFS on their Rove Mesa project that came out about this time last year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in January, CZR was approached to sell the Rove Mesa deposit for $100 million.
Oh,
It's a 33 million ton reserve that has to haul about 170 kilometers to Onslow.
okay.
So, here's the value proposition for us. I mean, and basically that Rove Mesa deposit, okay, Rove Mesa is 33 million ton reserve that sits on about 60 hectares.
Kind of like your old broad flat well.
That's right. However, now we're at Cane Boar, okay?
Yep.
And we have identified, again, yet to be tested, of course, but we have identified approximately 1,500 hectares of possible CID deposits. Our first drilling program is going to examine more than 200 hectares. So there's an opportunity here. There's a real opportunity. Again, you've got nearology. You've got a lot of channel irons and deposits. Our geologists are very familiar with the terrain, having worked on, the Cane Boar and the API GAV before, which is close to us as well. It's a multi-million ton resource. So they're familiar with the terrain. They're familiar with the topography. They're familiar with obviously the geology and what they could see back when they applied for the exploration license 3 years ago. This was very prospective, very prospective. So getting on the ground, rock chip sampling, mapping, get those assays back, get heritage surveys moving, drill the program, get an initial resource out to the market.
What's your time frame approximately?
So again, I am pushing to get a drill on the ground before the end of this year.
Okay.
Maybe ambitious, rock chip sampling is happening. That is going to be dependent on heritage surveys and the availability of the traditional owners to have the survey crews to get out to do the work. So that's kind of critical path for us.
This might be a really dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Exploration license took 3 years to obtain. You further down the track, you're going to need a mining license.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to take the same sort of time?
No, like a mining lease. Remember, a mining lease is really about demonstrating that you have a resource and a reserve.
Okay.
Okay. And having an agreement in place with traditional owners.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So it shouldn't be as complex as getting through the exploration license. Is that
No.
right?
No, exactly, because it's tenure is different. Of course, getting a mining lease is, and then you work your way. That's a parallel process to getting through, obviously, environmental regulation as well. And environmental regulation or the regulation basically to get project approval is, then it's obviously involved with environmental impact assessments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and possibly offset agreements. But again, that's once you're talking about project development. But a mining lease, getting tenure, demonstrating you've got the resource or the reserve and an agreement in place with traditional owners. And by the way, the traditional owners in this neck of the group have existing agreements with MinRes, with API, with Rio Tinto, with BHP, with, all of the big players. They get it. They're commercial. They understand the process. They just need to be obviously engaged in the process. And we've been doing that all along the way. Early engagement with the TOs. I've been up to Karratha to see them on a few different occasions now. We're working together to get a heritage survey in place now.
What's your biggest challenge then, right now, as we speak to you in October of 24?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think everyone in the exploration phase is challenged with, obviously maintaining the enthusiasm, certainly the enthusiasm that I have for this project, and keeping the work going, and really getting things moving. And of course, I'm really thrilled, and I can't wait to see the results. I'm confident that we're going to get some really good numbers out of this rock chip sampling. And again, the challenge is we're going to get next phase is getting a drill in place.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, these deposits are, I think, geologically, I don't think you could get something that's more simple. They're relatively high lying. They sit in like ridges. The topographic landform is quite easy to distinguish from the area around it. You can the surface geology is apparent. So it's a potentially a very low, if it comes into operation, it's a very low strip ratio and very easy to sort of get out of the ground.
It's more of a quarry operation.
It's a quarry.
Yeah, it's a quarry. Yeah. And it's a paddock in the middle of the Pilbara, so I wouldn't have thought that you're going to have too many issues.
It's a paddock in the middle of the Pilbara. It was, by the way, it was a former pastoral lease, up until a couple of decades ago. So okay. It's been a good place if you're a wild cattle or a cat or something like that.
Or a cat. All right. Let's wrap it up and just ask. I just want to ask you, as I always do, Stewart, and thank you so much for coming back on and giving us an update, and congratulations on the exploration license. I hadn't realized 3 years.
3.
Now, Stewart doesn't know I'm going to say this, but I'm just going to say this to everybody out there. Can you please write to your local member or just start to turn around and say, why does it take so long? Because, the mining industry is the backbone, in my opinion, of this country. And we really should be making things a lot easier, because the industry alone paid over $70 billion in taxes last year. So we've got to start to stand up, guys, and support. And like 3 years for an exploration license, I scratch my head.
Honestly, and Kerry, look, they don't find themselves. Naturally, our resources are limited, and we have to continue to explore and hunt and find more. I mean, it just doesn't show up, and it takes a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of time on the ground and in the background as well to get these things to happen. It's certainly, I've aged a bit.
All right. Well, give us 3 reasons why people should be sitting up and taking notice. Last time you said Broad Fat World, team, Cane Boar. But I think with Cane Boar, you were just keeping it a bit quiet because it was May and you hadn't got the exploration license.
Look, it's all about Cane Boar right now. And if I could say 3 things, it would be Cane Boar, Cane Boar, Cane Boar. But we're on the ground rock chipping right now, mapping. Stay tuned for those rock chip assay results. Again, our team here is pushing to get the heritage surveys in place so that we can get and drill this program out. And look, it is a big target, or there are big targets out here. Big targets, greater chance for success. And it's a great time to get in.
And I also just want to reiterate, if I could, the fact that CZR, 33 million ounces.
33 million tons.
Sorry, tons. And you're
$100 million.
100 mil, and your market.
Our market cap's less than 10 right now.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Sit up, pay attention. As we said before, I always like to look for these ones. But congratulations, he's got the exploration license. There's going to be a lot of news coming out. Make sure you check them out. Go to Burley Minerals on their website. Lots of information there. ASX code is BUR. Stewart, great to have you back. Look forward to chatting to you again as soon as those rock chip assays come back.
Kerry, thank you very much.